Hi, I'm David Brevnick with the Brevnick Fishing Team, and today we're going to talk all you need to know about Sybiki rigs, everything you need to know about them. Right now on the channel we're talking all you need to know about bait. We still have a lot to cover about bait, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, that way you don't miss any future videos. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up. So let's start with talking about Sybikis, like the sizes. So there's a wide variety of sizes. So probably the two most common sizes are probably, or three are probably 8, 6, and 16. And then these are you would want to choose different sizes for different species. So here are all the Sybikis that I have just alone on the boat for when I go out. And actually I have another 2 or 3 of these, the bigger ones. But that's not including what's in my other tackle boxes. This is just on the boat, just in case I go out and I forget to bring something. It's good to always have backups. But so let's talk about the sizes. So you would want to use like a size 16, a size 12, 14, or 20 if you're going after bigger baits like blue runners, goggle eyes, Spanish mackerel, bonitas. Those bigger, hardier baits is what you want to use this kind of Sybiki for. And then if you want to go after pilchards, thread fins, cigar minnows, sardines, you want to use these Sybikis. This one is size 7. No, this one's size 7. This is size 8. The others are all size 8. And it doesn't really matter which brand. Color does have a little bit to affect. Like if you look here, this one actually has some beads which actually glow in the dark too. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can see them. But those little beads, they glow in the dark, and they'll go all the way down to the hook at the end. And when you jig them, especially like in the early morning, they'll glow, so the fish will be able to see it, and that actually does help fish to bite too. So different sizes are gonna have different effects. So like obviously the smaller, it's gonna be seen smaller in the water, so it's gonna catch fish with a smaller mouth, smaller eyes, fish that feed on like plankton and stuff. So, and then also keep in mind is that blue runners will also hit these smaller Sybikis too. Just because most time people say use the bigger Sybikis doesn't mean they won't eat the smaller Sybikis too. So let's talk about setting up what Sybikis to use. So the colors are obviously important. Green and orange are probably the most common colors, or red, whatever, green or red are the two most common colors to use. And then also ones I like to use is like this, where you have a mix of colors. That way if you find, like I used to like to have one of these and then one orange and one green. That way I can find out what color might be working the best on a certain day, or some days it won't even matter. Like sometimes it's just a big school, they won't matter. Sometimes they only buy a certain color. So it's really something that varies from different time to different time. It depends on the conditions out there. So make sure to have a wide variety of Sybikis, because they will get tangled, they get all messed up. If you're going after blue runners, you'll have a lot of Spanish mackerel around too, and you will end up getting cut off. I've gotten cut off on like 4 or 5 of these in a day. When I was just going to use these, and I actually ran out of these, so I ended up starting to use these, and I probably went through 8 Sybikis in one day, and 2 hours of bait fishing. At least I got the bait well full. That was before tournament, but it's important to have lots of Sybikis because they'll get tangled, then you want to switch them. They'll get cut off, you'll get hooks that'll get bent, sometimes you'll get things stuck on things. So make sure to have a wide variety of Sybikis. And then so now let's talk about the branch test and the main test. So like as you can see on different ones, it's going to be different. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's different from each Sybiki. So the branch test is like, okay, so let's start with the main test actually. The main test is the line going straight down from your swivel to your snap swivel at the end. That is where your weight is going to be connected. That is the branch test. I mean the main test. And that is normally going to be a little bit heavier than the branch test. And the branch test is where it sticks out and the Sybikis are on it. It's kind of like a tree. You think the main test like is the trunk of a tree, and then the branches are like the branches. So the branch test is the ones that are sticking out with the Sybikis on them. So you can think of like the Sybikis as like the leaves. So like the leaves on a tree, so the branches are connected to the leaves. So that's one way you can think of it. And then normally some of these are actually a little bit lighter than others, or heavier. So like this one right here is 7. This one is 7 pounds. This is 7 pounds. This is 10 pounds. This one's a bigger Sybiki. It's 30 pounds for the branch. The main test varies 2, 20, 13, 13, 17, 50. So it's really going to depend on which Sybiki you use and what fish you're targeting. So also the weight, let's talk about the weights. So the weights you're going to want to put on the end are going to vary from amount of water that you're in. So if you're in deeper water, you're going to want to use a heavier weight. That way it gets down faster. And if you're in within a couple feet of water, you might want to use like a 1 or 2 ounce weight. And also you want to use a heavier, like a 1 or 2 ounce weight. Also that way your chances of getting a big ball in the Sybikis, all the hooks wrapped up, is less. That way the fish can't go up and bite the other ones too. Because there's so many times, even with the heavier weights, I've had like maybe one fish on the Sybiki and it went up and bit all the hooks and I was in a big knot. And then I threw the Sybiki away and just put on another one because it's just more effective that way. But definitely use a heavier weight. If you're in like 40, 50 feet of water, use a 3 or 4 ounce weight. If you're over 100, maybe using a 5 or 6 ounce, maybe even an 8 ounce might be a good idea. Because you don't want these guys to get all tangled up because it is a nightmare. Especially when you're using these Sybikis for the bigger baits. You'll have like, if you have like a bonita bite it, it might bite all the other ones too, so keep that in mind. Even with these will catch blue runners too, is what people don't realize. Even Spanish mackerel, not as much. Spanish mackerel will only bite these, same thing with bonitas. But blue runners will also bite these. So when you're going after blue runners, you always want to make sure you have one big one and one small one at the bare minimum. In case they're not biting this one, then they're probably at least going to bite this one. Because some bait is better than no bait. Or maybe they might just be biting this one on some days. But most of the time that's not the case. Most of the time they're biting both of these, but they're biting this one more frequently. But sometimes you'll only catch them on this one. So make sure to have smaller Sybikis and bigger Sybikis if you're just going after like blue runners and those bigger baits. Even I've heard of people using some smaller ones for goggle eyes if they're closer to shore. But these bigger ones are going to be your best bet for the bigger, hardier baits like goggle eyes, blue runners, bonitas, Spanish mackerel. And these are for your pilchards, threadfins, skilled sardines, cigar minnows, all that stuff. So that's pretty much it for Sybikis, guys. And actually, there's one more thing. So when you go to Sybiki, you can just drop it down and just jig it up and down. Just twitch it up and down motion. That way it looks like they're dancing, and then they'll go bite it. And normally when one bites it, if you keep it down and you reel it up either slowly or you keep jigging and you just keep the line tight, you'll get more fish to bite it, like if there's a big school of fish especially. But that's if you're greedy, and sometimes you actually lose the fish if you're actually what they call greedy about it. So it's definitely your choice. A lot of times if you just bring it up slowly, you'll end up catching more fish too, rather than like trying to keep it down there and Sybiki up all the fish. But normally when I'm reeling it in, I get one bite, I just reel it up, drop it back down as fast as I can. Because normally the schools, when I find them, they're pretty big. Normally you can find all kinds of bait at wrecks and all these places. And a lot of times they'll be up on the surface within the first few feet of the water column. And then you just want to use your bait dehooker and just take them off. Make sure you don't touch your baits, that way you don't kill them. And then if you're using it that day, and then you come back and you have extra baits, you need to put them in a bait pen, a very good bait pen. I would not recommend a barrel. I have tried that actually, and actually end up losing a lot of baits. I think it's water flow, and then I think also some of it has to do when you touch it, the slime, the protective coating, it does affect their life in a bait pen and when you're using them as bait. I have noticed that when I don't touch my baits, they do better when I'm trolling them. Like I like to kingfish a lot, I like to use the blue runners. So if I don't touch a blue runner and I only touch it right before I put on a hook, that's fine, because they're going to survive longer and I control them longer, and maybe sometimes even a little bit faster, like when the current is stronger. So keep that in mind, guys. And also, when you don't touch them as much and they're more lively, you're more likely to get a bite on them and catch more fish and bigger fish too. So all these Sybikis are important to have. It's important to have different sizes, a variety of sizes and colors. Sometimes brands matter too. Like some days they'll only bite a certain brand more than the other brand. Like maybe it's like, and that's only the brand sizes. Like the style of the Sybiki may affect. This is not the only brands. There's I know here there's Tsunami, Marathon, Owner. There's Hayabusa, who also makes a good one. R&R. Lots of different companies make really good Sybikis. So just go ahead and buy a wide variety of Sybikis. Buy like 7 or 8 of them. Some days you might only use 1 or 2 Sybikis. Some days you might use 3 or 4 Sybikis. So make sure to have a wide variety of Sybikis with you. And then also getting back to what I was saying about your bait. When you're looking for bait, on the Rex, you can use your fish finders and you can find the bait. You can find like the little clusters on the screen, and sometimes there'll be stuff their bait is eating, and you'll see your bait on the screen. So keep that in mind. And also you're going to want a highly sophisticated fish finder. A place where I recommend getting fish finders is dbmarinespotts.com. I'll have a link below in the description. And they have all kinds of fish finders, and they always have lots of sales going on. There's always quite a few big deals. Like last time I checked, there's at least one Raymarine, there's one Garmin, and one Simrad. At least one that has each of those that have saved at least $800 on. So make sure to go check that out, dbmarinespotts.com. And also, you need a bait pin. I would recommend a bait pin with like the mesh. You could get a cage bait pin, make it out of the wire. But I like the collapsible bait pins because I can travel with them. If I'm not using them, I can store them easily. That's why I like to use the D&B bait pins. Next video, we'll talk all you need to know about bait pins, and I might release a few videos on how to close and open the collapsible bait pin from D&B. And D&B makes really high quality bait pins, the ones I use. So make sure to check those out too, guys. I'll leave the link below in the description, dbmarinespotts.com. And if you email them at dbbaitpens@gmail.com, you can get a custom-made bait pin too. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time.